Welcome. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hi, thank you.
Oh, it's so good to see you. What a wonderful film. I
Thank,
enjoyed it so thoroughly.
thank
So welcome everyone to Conversations Art and Cinema. We're here with Maryam Pirband, and we just went through Vertical, and such an incredible writer, director, producer, an incredible person who has been doing this for so many years now, and has really your films have you're always surprising me because if we think of Silence, it's sort of one type of film, Dandelion Season's like another, and then we move to this, it's like a whole new genre and in a completely different language. Are you purposely trying to continually challenge yourself and take on really, really completely different things just to refine yourself as a director, or just that's kind of the person you are? You like to take on something that's new, and that's just how you're going with it.
First of all, I want to thank you for having me. Working in independent cinema, independent filmmaking, felt something really important to me. I have to be flexible. So, first of all, I know that what we want to say and how we want to tell it. That how we want to say it, this is the style of each of us. Should be unique, of course, but honestly, the projects that coming to me, they are so different. And if I want to accept the challenge to put my step into them, I have to be flexible and keep that unique style as well. Vertical was like a really challenging thing. It's not the story that I was familiar with. I didn't know the language. I'm not a Spanish language person. The script was written by a very talented filmmaker from Spain, and the Argentinian
His name was Ruben Alvarez. Am I saying his name right? Yeah.
Ruben Arnaiz. Yeah, and the Argentinian producer invited me to go to Mexico and start directing this film. So it was a real challenge for me, and I had to start with myself from the below 0 point to, first of all, I wanted to make Spanish film, Mexican film, which is its own rules and regulations. And I was the only non-local. I was the only stranger on set, and it was quite a challenge. How I invited to this project was exactly related to my action style, because the producer was on my set in Dandelion season in LA when I was shooting. And the day he was a guest to see my on set editor, I was directing an action scene, the only action scene that was important to me. And he was on set, and I was not pitching something, and I didn't behave very good to him because I didn't want to have one guest on my set. But because he was from action cinema, he was, yeah, because he was in action cinema for like over 200 films, but his action style is from Hong Kong and China style. So my style of coordinating the action scene was very strange to him. So it started the process between me and their projects, watching each other films and start talking. Then they invited me to do something really challenging for me and for them as well.
Is so fascinating to me because I'm curious what's different in the action style from, I know you started as a stunt actor in Iran, and so is it completely different stunt acting in Iran, the way you learned it, versus, of course, Hong Kong has, and I saw that the actor that you used from Mexico was trained in Taekwondo. So were you not trained in Taekwondo? And was it something, are Iranians more trained in judo or a different type of martial art?
Well, in cinema in Iran, when you want to do action, just you train for action scenes. So you always go to martial arts stuff related to action scenes. But the way you want to coordinate the scene is so practical and fast. And any new person, we can train them to do the right punch or kick or whatever. Just Vertical is the best example. My actors in Vertical, two of them were actions. They were the producers of these films, the twins. But the others, they didn't have anything to do with action. So I trained them on set how to do all of this action. They did all of them by themselves. The difference between my style of action coordination and Andrew's was they spent like sometimes 1 week to create an action scene. At least he wanted at least like 14 hours to create a very small corner of the fight. But my style was different. I do it immediately with the cameras and see how my actors can perform. Then we start doing, and it was challenging in Vertical because Andrew and Steven was the kings of martial arts and action cinema, and I'm in another area. So it was really challenging working together, but they are so flexible as well, and they agree. The only scene that I didn't do anything and let them do the whole thing was the fight between their two at the ending parts when he's seeing the dream fighting with his brother. The only thing was that one, but I retouched it a little bit because I had to with the camera and everything. But others, I worked it in my style, and they were happy with that.
Now, was this whole scene when then she's on the ropes and then she's falling and then the Santo comes and saves her? Was that something that was inspired from your other short film where you were in the film? Was that it? Did you want to do something with ropes because of that?
Yes, you know what? I went to the location of Guanajuato. The main script was mostly in the caves. And when I went to this location, I said, okay, I can use that rope techniques and everything, and I can put myself out of the caves because, okay, the story is about searching and researching for yourself, for everything inside your journey and others with you, but we can do it in the mountains as well, the same meaning. And so I found that mm, vertical zone. And at first, of course, they were scared. They didn't want to. And I showed them the short film Silence, as you mentioned. And I showed them how to do, yeah. And I wear the harness. I did everything. And the only part that it was green screen was the part that we were with drone shot and Rita falls down. It was the only part with green screen on their Rita. The rest they did by themselves.
And then I also wanted to ask you about your first film, the student film that you shared with me. What is it called? P6? Is that right?
P6.
Can you talk a little bit about that one?
Yes. That I started with acting, and then when I was at the time I had to go to these offices for new projects, and they called it acting test. In Iran they call it this way. So I was doing an acting test, and I watched a guy came in that last night I watched him on TV, first person who came to Iran to start a stunt. So I started immediately with him. You know the story. And after 1 year that working with him, and I did a lot of stunt with him, because he wanted to train me for action coordination and directing action. We wrote this script in another way. I fixed it later with him. We wanted to make it as my first short film, student film, because I was finishing my directing school as well. But he passed away on set on one of the films in Iran. Things
I'm
are,
so sorry.
yeah, and it was really difficult for all of us. So I asked the whole stunt team that join me, and I only have school cameras and school sound, everything from school. So we made it. This is the whole action. I went to some producers, I pitched, but all of them said, "What is that? You never can make it happen here." Yeah, so no
And
one wants.
it's amazing action. Just this is your first student film. It's remarkable. So after you saw this, was it like that you had arrived? Did you start getting calls right away to do many projects after this? Because it's unbelievable for a first student film. You know, you had guns, you had motorcycles. You know.
You know what? All those people that you see in this short film in front of the camera, they were my colleagues in Stunt team that we had. And all those behind the camera, we were students. We were like,
They were incredible. All this, everyone was incredible. Yeah.
yeah. So, but the thing of it is, I was trained well with the guy, with my friend, that he was one of the best. And then when my first screening for this film was in Tehran International Short Film Festival, drew a lot of attention. I have a video, very low quality, that the cinema was packed because everyone wanted to see what's that. They say a girl made an action film. Okay, and then there is
So
Farhang
cool.
Sarang
So awesome.
Arasboran. We had the club, film club of Arasboran. They invited me. The guy told me, I have to do something for this film, not for you. I put this film before the main film that is going to be screened this week. And you will be start a very difficult, challenging journey, Gail. Get ready for that. I said, okay, I'm open for everything. And then they screened my film before one of the most important movies of Ali Reza Raisian. And Shahab Hosseini was in the film, Leila Hatami was in the film, it was full of stars.
Wow.
And people were shocked. And after my film, they screened that film. So after the film was finished for the Q&A, they asked me on stage as well. And everyone wanted to talk to me about how something like this did happen. So after that, everything became very easy and fast for me. I never searched for a producer for my short films, for my documentaries, for anything. In Iran, I'm talking about Iran. Yeah, it was this film can prove that if you find your style, which must be your unique style in storytelling, this is a win-win journey for you.
It's so wonderful. It's just inspiring, and uh, I love it. It's great. It just makes me so happy to hear this story, and I hope I know Audrey's here listening. Maybe you're going to start doing some stunts or writing more stunts in your script too. Now I'm curious also about, because of your transition to Los Angeles. Were you able to parlay that right into doing films with stunts in Los Angeles? Because you said, oh, you were doing Spanish language, or you're taking what you can get as an independent producer and filmmaker. So is it always stunt oriented, or are you looking at other things and other projects now?
Well, I am so flexible in what I want to say as well. Usually, I find different topics. I continued my education in LA, so on my master screenwriting, I had a lot of different projects, but Dandelion season was the one that I didn't like the most, but everyone loved the most. So it was the story that didn't have any action in that. And it was drama about an Iranian family immigrated to Los Angeles for an arranged marriage. So later, one American producer picked that story because I was working in film festivals with them. They knew me, they knew my work. And then he also, I had other action stories, but he picked this one. He said, I want to make this one happen. So I added some action scenes to this. Regarding to the difficulties working action in Los Angeles to Iran, responsibilities process is huge thing. So I couldn't do crazy stuff in Dandelion season, but I had a chance that one stunt that he was Iranian as well, living in LA, and he was in a lot of Hollywood movies. He accepted to do the thing that I wanted because I want to, in the opening of the film, I wanted the bride falls down the hill, and my producer didn't want to accept it, but yeah, this is the guy, and this guy accepted to do it. So I was happy. About the other scene that I had to push Hannah's head on the ground, my producer, again, the team, everyone was concerned, and also my AD, he was one of the most concerned people on set. I tried a new way to create that scene because they didn't want to take risk about put the actress on that situation. And then about the rape scene that they are stealing this girl in the streets of Iran as well. I started to, like, in the night that was my producer was not on set, and I created that scene in a very practical way. And that scene was the one that Argentinian producer was on set by chance and saw me creating that scene.
It's it's just incredible that you ended up doing stunts in this film that didn't necessarily have to have stunts, but you looked at ways to incorporate them. That is so ingenious. I'm also curious how, with Vertical, you did have sort of the occult, and it is, horror elements. Have you not been approached to do any kind of zombie or post-apocalyptic things yet? Or I think you would be perfect for that, right? Are you not interested in the like the super horror or, you know,
Well, recently, before that project happened, I went to Mexico. I went to Tijuana. I went to find the connection to Mexico. I wanted to make something in Mexico, but I didn't have the connection. So later that happened to me. About the horror, I knew that I want to make something. Before that, I didn't want to even watch horror films. I don't like that. But recent months before Vertical happened to me, I started watching horrors to get myself connected a little bit because I knew that this genre is very successful in market, and maybe I want to do it somehow, but I was not ready that early. And specifically about the altar scene and those beliefs in Mexico, it was really difficult for me to get connected to them. So that's why I went there earlier. Everyone told me do not do that, do not go there by yourself earlier, wait for the team. But I needed to get connected to the society. I know I didn't know their language, but I went to the place that they told me it was the real altar, the place that they used to sacrifice human there. And I said, okay, start making this place as my altar.
wait, this was that, so that was a real
Yeah,
altar in the film.
the place, yes.
Oh my God.
So the art team joined me to fix it. And then I sat for days. I was meditating there. I tried to get connected to those souls, everything. These things are helping me. Yes, these are scary. And, in Mexico, beliefs are really beautiful and a little bit strange. But they helped me a lot. They really helped me a lot. Like, for example, on in the altar, those signs, it just came to my mind that I want those signs on something on stone, and they told me, okay, many of the signs are Aztec culture, and you have to select them correctly. So otherwise, it's gonna have another meaning. So I didn't have no idea. They helped me to pick those signs and everything, and they did a great job. Art team.
And so, yeah, that you're talking about the eye symbols on the tombstones, things like this, and the skull. So this was all real, but some fabrication in the production design as well. This is great. So you're giving me so many wonderful ideas. It's inspiring the possibilities. The other thing I wanted to sort of talk about before we open it up to Audrey, who's here, and I know she has a couple questions, was Dance with Me, which is sort of a very different type of film. And is there anything you wanted to say about that, or possibly doing films like that as well to sort of counterpoint the action?
Yeah, I love that style of filmmaking, because for a long time I went to Kiarosam's classes and workshops. I love his style, and I always wanted to tell women or human rights or drama stories like that. But that story is the one that, I told you P6 was screened before Ali Reza Raisian's film. So Ali Reza Raisian is a producer, later asked me to bring I have, just like my ideas for stories. So I had this story in a way that only about the pill. A woman is pregnant by the partner. The partner is lost in the Iran's green wave, so no marriage, you cannot keep the baby, you cannot abortion, nothing. What should you do? And one doctor give you this pill, and you have to dance hard and jump to kill the baby. It was the idea of that. So the producer accepted to produce this film for me, and I did everything. He didn't interfere, but every single crew on this film Dance with Me was from the most professional, most famous cinema people in Iran. All of them, they helped me a lot, but they all love the story, the very smooth way that I'm telling the story. And this proved to other people that a woman who does action and crazy stuff, they call it, uh, she can also tell a story in another way. So it was one experience that I always love to do.
Yeah, I think that you can do anything, you know. And I think it's really important. And I can't wait for you to do every type of film. Every film I want to see by Maryam Pirband. Um, I want to turn it over to Audrey as well, but I also wanted to, now that you mentioned working with Kiarostami in the workshops, I did share with them some of his ideas about all cinema is illusion and all cinema is fakery. I was just curious, was there one thing that you took away from one of those workshops that you went to from Kiarostami for this film in particular?
Yes, before going to Kurosami workshops and working with his team and his friends, because immediately I made friends with them. I everything to me was really difficult. I have to be sophisticated to do something like this, impressive action. But what I got in his workshops and talking to them is whatever you want to tell, it's yours. Tell your story to us in the most simple way that you can tell it to us. Of course, you should know the storytelling acts and all of that, but give it to us, like, for example, put your hand in your pocket. He always thought that in your pocket, and whatever you have in your pocket, there are raisins, there are walnuts, give it to us. That's simple. So this story, Dance with Me, made like that. So simple. If I was this lady, pregnant, something like that happened to me, that was my POV.
So put yourself in the eyes and the mind of the character when you're creating it, but also in the construction and the technicality of making it. Also think about not overdoing or overproducing the constraints. How can you tell the story in the simplest way? Because maybe you don't have, all the dollies or all the fancy drones or thing to tell the story. Just how can you do it as effortlessly as possible? Is that the idea, both in hand?
that is the idea. I was working for 1 year. I was working in different departments for a long time. I was working in sound designing studio. Moon Studio is Mohammad Reza Delpak is one of the best who work always with Kiarostami, and he is on his style. And he's the one also who helped a lot of movies to be the same in the same process as he wanted after he passed away. I was working there in the studio, and many times I was witnessing that they tell a filmmaker, "Do not change the sound of this scene. You don't need extra sound effects. Let the audience feel it by themselves. You don't need more like sounds from outside." So they cleared all of the sounds that they designed. So it is the simplest way, maybe the silence, and then you feel what the actor is feeling.
So they were always trying to strip away and make it as diegetic as possible rather than overproducing, over manufacturing, naturalistic as possible. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful style and a beautiful testament to him and to you. I also wanted to ask you one more thing about you. You're doing all this. You've worked as coordinator, stunt actor, writer, director. What about all your partnerships? Because I know there are many students that may not have been able to get on this call because of the break that's coming up, and a lot of them are trying to work on partnerships with each other, whether it be co-producing or co-writing or co-directing. Did you have any advice about that, about working with others?
Yes, I did a lot of stuff with my classmates. Physics is one of the best examples for that. And yes, you should be so flexible. Of course, who is the director? Everyone needs to listen to him or her. But still, you should be more practical and listen to them, because they may bring something to the story that you even didn't think about that. Now I'm co-working somehow with Hong Kong on an action film about Bruce Lee. Okay, again, something new. I'm not from Bruce Lee. They are from Bruce Lee. Their whole life, everything about them is
So
Bruce
you're
Lee.
doing a Bruce Lee film?
Yeah, we are writing, it's like co-writing now with two other filmmakers from Hong Kong.
That's fantastic. You're doing a Bruce Lee film. I love Bruce Lee.
Yeah, the thing of it is, okay, this is another example. All the time, I have to be flexible, and I tell to myself, okay, shh, Maryam, listen to them. They know better. So I write my points all the time in the emails, and I expand the emails for them to realize what I'm telling. It's okay, but because they are so sensitive about whatever is related to Bruce Lee. And from my POV outside Hong Kong, we don't want to make some, big idol. Bruce Lee was a real human as well. So it's a good challenge between us right now. We're working on this. Or, I want to tell it to you. Recently, I finished a very challenging script, historical, about Cyrus the Great. It's 160. It was 180 pages. With the help of a very great professional professor in history, Professor Turaj Daryai, if you know him, of course. And at first, this group came to me 1 year before. I didn't accept. I was scared. I said it's too heavy for my shoulders, and it's a huge responsibility. I'm not that familiar with that part of the history. And then after 1 year, they came back to me and they said, "We signed an NDA. We don't want to give you names, but someone destroyed us. So please accept this." I said, "Okay, now I feel at ease," and I accepted that. But I told them it's a huge process. I have to start researching. And for 6 months, I didn't go anywhere. I was just sitting and reading and watching and listening and talk to Professor Daryai and other historians. It was too much. Then I got the point where to start and how to start, because that was difficult, and how to start and how to end. Still, 180 pages I finished. I went to Mr. Dario's office. Then he told me, okay, let's cut the part that Cyrus attacks Median Empire for the first time to his grandfather. Because recently they realized that there is no obvious proof that he attacked. It seems like he just entered and they opened the gates for him. So, you know that it could destroy the whole story because I form everything about this character like that aggressive and ambitious, and 20 pages of my story was about that part. I had to cut all of that out, and for a couple of seconds I tried my best to say nothing, and I said, okay, this is the reality. You want to make something really amazing, and he's trying to help, and these people are trying to help. So keep silence and work on the parallel options. It was really challenging, so I had to destroy all of that and work on the characters that I made for that story, that they are continuing to the ending of the story another way. It was really challenging for me. And working with students, with our classmates, with our co-workers is always like this. If we get used to doing such this stuff in a school, we will continue it in the later process, in the other projects later, just like me. Always you have to be flexible, but you have to prove what you want to say and what is your style. You have to prove it in the best way. And for a woman, of course, it's more difficult.
Well, I can't wait to see the Bruce Lee film. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. And I can't wait for you to potentially come and work with our students in person if you ever have the chance. I'm going to open this up to Audrey right now and see if Audrey has any questions. Audrey is one of our great screenwriters. Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Audrey.
Nice to meet you. Hi. I'm sorry that I couldn't drop in earlier. I have classes right before this, but all your work and your career sounds amazing. Uh, when it comes to writing action, I guess I've never really tried to focus on it much. But there is something I'm writing right now which could have a really fun action scene. Do you have any advice on how to get started for someone who's very inexperienced?
Well, first of all, you want to start with simple action, like even a punch or a kick. So you have to be perfect in kicking and or punch. It's really makes difference if your actor in the film, we know that he knows how to punch, or we know that he's just a simple mother do not know how to punch. This is the difference. You have to put these differences aside, and the camera movement and everything is on yours. But usually I prefer to have at least three cameras, because sometimes you get one thing that you cannot never get that again, especially in this stage of starting action. Then if you start with that point, start drawing it. I know a storyboard and everything, because the whole crew need to know that if there is a shooting, if there is those buttons in the body of the actor, they should explore something. They should know that. But of course, many things are happening in the action scene that you never were think about that. So be open to all of that. And for the starting action, camera movement, do not put the camera on tripod, never. Camera movement always helps. It helps you. And in the editing process, try to cut in the movements. Like this, cut this to this. Never always cutting the movements. This is the thing. And of course, sound effects and everything like that helps.
So you say when you
And I
cut
think
in
Audrey was also asking about literally writing the action too.
Oh, okay. Writing the action, okay. You can write, they start fighting, but how they fight. This mother comes in the room, sees something wrong, so start grabbing the guy from the back, push. Oh, you have to write all of that. Push him back, like kick his face, punch his face. Well, you have to write all of that. If there is a blood, how much blood, all of that. You need to know it from before, way before, because later everyone need to know that, and the actor, even the stunts, need to know how much, how big or how small will be this.
And I saw that you were even doing the movement yourself as you were describing it. So when you're writing action, do you put yourself in? Is it method writing a little bit? Is that going to help Audrey as well? Should she imagine it with movement too, if she can?
Yes, like for example, in P6, we wanted to put these chains behind the driver. We tested with ourselves when we were writing because it was something new to us. We never did it before. We tested many times to see how it works and how much the driver can kick our face or do something or move or open the door. So sometimes you have to do it. And now I'm working with these Bruce Lee people. They are very conservative about the kicks and everything. So sometimes we are always on Zoom because they are now in Hong Kong. We show each other how to kick, how much you want, like this, like that. Yes, it's always like this in action.
I see. Yeah. Thank you. I think that gives me a good idea of where to start. Um, when you said like cutting in the middle of an action, do you mean that like say somebody's throwing a punch? Should we should it be on that single punch, like throughout the punch, throughout the kick, throughout like some kind of movement? You think it should just be one shot, or like cut to a little bit of a different angle, maybe draw back, it's from behind, then it's from behind the person that's punching, and then like it switches to the perspective of the person getting punched, so like that the audience sees it coming?
It all depends on you and the feeling of the scene. If you
Okay.
see Rita is slapping Andrew, I put Rita slap. That's it. Then we cut after the slap. But we had a lot of different shots we could cut in between. And Andrew, who was the producer, always he was with me in the editing process as well. He wanted the cut between that, but I said no. This is the shot. Yeah, you just slap. Why should we cut in between? Or usually in Hong Kong movies, they cut some frames out. So if you punch someone or slap someone, you see it faster. It's not like that, of course. For me, it's animation. I didn't accept that in vertical, and I promise for next movies I will do that for sure. But in vertical, all the actions are natural. You just see a woman, she's a mother, she's not martial arts star, so she cannot kick anyone like Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan. So, but maybe if you have someone like that in your film that is expert in action, like martial arts stuff, you can do that, like delete some of the frames or something like that for the speed. Of course, you can fix it in editing as well.
Gotcha.
And,
Yeah.
and Audrey, since you're the one here, you get to have some special moment with Miriam. So if you have another question, go for it.
Well, you mentioned earlier that like it can be harder for women to like be like, the ones taking the reins in the creative projects, but it's something I'm really interested in, is like being at the helm of the whole thing. So do you have any advice for how to build that like respect amongst the crew, of how to establish yourself as someone that they should defer to?
Yeah. First of all, it's sorry to say that, but most of the men do not like to say yes to a woman. This is a psychological thing. But the first thing that we have to do is we are confident or not about our step. If we are confident, this is the waves that other people can get it immediately, so they respect it. If we are not confident, they feel it, so they want to interfere your thing. if there are those men that they don't want to say okay to a woman, it's a psychological process. After like 10 years, you will find ways to deal with that. But because I was raised in a family that all of them are boys, and I was the only girl raised with them. And this is one that, and in a time of my life, I was only with my father. So this is something that I know how to deal with men in the best way. Um, I respect them a lot. Like I told you in P6, for example, those behind the camera now they are huge filmmakers. Like, did you Pirooz, do you know about Jamshid Mahmoudi and Navid Mahmoudi? They're huge film. They were behind the camera. I knew that, I felt it. They are bigger than me. They know better sometimes than me. So I have to accept what they say in a way that keep the scene in the style that I'm telling. We didn't want to destroy the style between the scenes. So I talked to them. I said, okay, do it, but in this way. You are right. Thank you for your advice. Thank you for that. But this is the speed that we have to do it. We don't have time for that. Something like that. So this is, yeah, and still it's really difficult for me. Still it's difficult. Some of the men are not accepting. They don't accept us.
And we also didn't mention that you're part of the Alliance for Women Directors, right?
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything about maybe how Audrey could join, or any other students that are watching this in the recording?
Well, Alliance of Women Directors, Women in Film, Women in Media. I am a member of them. I know that they have that option for students membership. And it's very good to be a part of these teams, even if this is 1 month, once a month you go for like work in progress movies together, something like that. It always works because you are collaborating with each other, you are brainstorming with each other, and sometimes they invite me to their project. Sometimes I invite them to our project, to my project, and as more as we go to different places together, we are familiar which projects I can do with one of them or not. So this is one thing that we have to. I'm not telling that I am that style of filmmaker that I only hang out with filmmakers, because this is really dangerous to a filmmaker. We have to live with the whole society, of course, but usually I at least twice a month, 3 times a month, I go to these gatherings of or screenings of these groups and alliances, because I need to get myself updated about all the new information. Of course, I don't have time for searching all of these new regulations or everything. When you sit together, you have something to put on the table. They have something new to you to put on the table. These conversations always helps. And also they have some fellowships. They have Raising Director Fellowships, Alliance of Women Director. It's a good thing. I think a lot of these fellowships and they support a lot.
Well, that's great. I'm really interested in that. I'll definitely be looking into that. Yeah, thank you for your insight on that. Um,
And Audrey, did you want to ask anything about your sci-fi interests too? I know that Miriam likes sci-fi too, so.
yeah, no, I love sci-fi. I mean, like when you were talking about like a naturalistic kind of action scenes, I was actually thinking of Dune and like the fight at the end that they had, which was like all like very like kind of natural fighting sounds, no like overarching music that goes with it. Um, I do enjoy us like the sci-fi genre. It feels like one of the hardest places to like think of something truly new and original, because like so much has been explored already. But but I mean, like I love anything that will have to do with like space exploration or um anything like that. Um yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what your background is with working with sci-fi or space action or something like that.
No, never, but maybe it comes to me next. I don't know. Uh, what I always feel about sci-fi stories is it's not necessarily should be natural because the audience for those type of films, they do not like to see some natural normal thing. They want abnormal superhero. So you should be very good at make one of those superheroes for them. And of course, it's not natural and normal to see someone from the sky in your yard. Should be that abnormal, of course. I don't know. I have no experience making sci-fi.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know if anything else is coming to mind right now. You've answered a lot of really great questions for me. Thank you so much. I feel like I have a good place to go with what I'm writing and like to look at that fellowship.
Yeah, I think on Monday, what I'll do is share all the things that Miriam has shared with us, as well as those links, as well as some of this talk for everyone. And I want to thank you, Miriam, so much for spent having space with us and chatting. It's been so wonderful to have you, and I hope, really hope you have some time to come and we can bring you here in person because I think it'd be so wonderful for you to do a workshop with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great. It was a great conversation for me. I enjoyed a lot collaborating, and actually, some new ideas came to my mind.
The reason that I mentioned Audrey and sci-fi, and I'm so excited about it, is when you see someone so passionate and I see who shows up at certain things, I always think of the possibilities of the future. So I was imagining maybe Audrey writes something that Miriam can do because Audrey has some wonderful sci-fi scripts. So wouldn't that be wonderful in the future?
I'm really happy for that, Audrey. I'm really happy for you. You're so brave. That genre is really, you should be brave. Oh, because there are great stories. There are great movies in sci-fi. You know, you are the second messenger for a sci-fi story to me. Recently, one of my other filmmaker friends sending a lot of short videos about sci-fi to me and always keep pushing me to think about that. Now I got the message. It means something is happening. So maybe I start thinking about that.
Well, you also don't know. Maybe you and I could do something with sci-fi together.
Why not?
I would love that. I was talking to Will last week, and he was also talking to me about something. So maybe we can all work together, which would be wonderful.
I would love to.
Yeah.
That's an
Well, thank you so much, Miriam. It's such a pleasure. And really, I hope we're all together very, very soon. Audrey, you and me, and maybe a stunt workshop or a
yeah.
film or a sci-fi project. It'd be wonderful.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
It's awesome. If you want to have stunt workshop, also I may invite Andrew.
Oh,
Uh,
that'd be great. He
but
was fantastic.
he
Great
was
actor too. Is he very big in? Because I saw he just did another one of those films with the writer of Vertical too. It was like an artificial intelligence film. NIM.
yeah, you know, Andrew and Steven, the twins, they are the best in action movies, and they are
Oh, I thought he shaved his beard, so they're really twins.
they're twins. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, they're twins, and they're both in action films. And yeah, but Andrew is very humble. It's Steven is not that humble, but Andrew, I know that he will be happy to join us. Also, I have another friend, P6, the main guy, is in P6 short film. The main guy that is
Oh yeah, the one with the one that got with the chain on his neck.
yeah, the main guy who's acting in P6
Yeah.
is one of my best friends. He is in Germany, but sometimes
Mhm.
he comes to LA to meet. And he is one of the best in action stunt and action coordination. And he is the one that I usually work with him if I want to make fire or car
Mhm.
accident, car flapping. and all of those stuff. He's one of the best. Maybe we think about something like that. I can invite him as well.
Yeah,
If
I
he,
think we can definitely do something here and then bring everybody with an honorarium, and I can organize it. I also think there's the possibility, and you and I can talk about this, about doing something even in LA where it's you, me, and I bring some other folks and we do workshops there and people come to us. So that's the other possibility.
Awesome. I'm into that. I'm open to all of that, and that's an honor for me. Thank you.
Sounds good. And I will give you a call later this week too.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been great.
It was a great conversation.
Yeah, so much fun. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Heidi. Good luck.